The Chiefs got a new left tackle and a new cornerback, but they are not done. What happens next? Let's break it down. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue on what's going on in the NFL, but particularly for your Kansas City Chiefs. Thanks for joining me. The Chiefs signed tackle. We went over it a little bit in the Q&A last night. I'm going to show you a couple of things here in a little bit as we look at what the impact of Jaylon Moore is on the offensive line situation and what they're going to do going forward. Then on Tuesday, they ended up signing Kristian Fulton, a guy that we told you about for the last couple of weeks, but particular last night's Q&A, we called him out as a target for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they got it done. What does he mean? Some very, very different things. Check out our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. They are powering today's episode, and I'm pretty excited about it. So right here, we're going to talk about what Jaylon Moore brings to the table. And this is just some of his snaps over the last year. And he didn't play a lot. I'll show you some stats here in a minute. But Dan's going to have a full breakdown tomorrow. The film room is going to be epic, so do not miss it. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, go like, sub, and hit that bell. If you don't know me, I'm Ryan. This is Ryan Going Rogue, and we appreciate you being here. Jaylon Moore is a guy that had to step in for Trent Williams. He is a career backup to this point, but he is a guy that is on the rise. And right here in particular is what I want to show you. There's going to be some snaps in here from the Bills game, which I thought was really excellent. And for a guy, very tough on offensive tackles, especially with speed rushers like Von Miller out there, as well as a good defensive front in the Buffalo Bills. He was able to really keep his feet under him and play under control. And I thought that was a very positive sign. Now, it's not the only thing to it, but it does tell you that he's a guy that can do more than he's been asked to do to this point. And as you see, he moves pretty well. He gets to a spot. He's not the most fleet of foot. They're not terrible feet, but they're not elite feet. Kingsley's are a little bit faster. Eric Fisher's were a little bit faster, but he's got good feet and he can move his body mass around. This is not an Orlando Brown type of situation. So I do think as of right now, if they had to go play a ball game today, he would walk in and he would be the left tackle. Could there be competition? Sure. That's always a possibility, but right now he would be it. That's a good sign. And you can see here, he can take on power. He's got pretty good trunk control. And so when his anchor gets down, he can jack one side up or another, or really attack the shoulder pads. He does have a tendency to sometimes get a little bit out over his skates. But for the most part, particularly in pass set, he is able to give ground and get to the spot, not necessarily play the man, but play the spot that he's got to get to in order to affect the quarterback. And that is experienced NFL offensive tackle play. And that's an upgrade over what they've had for the last couple of years. Now, it's not the end all be all. He is the first part of what I think is a larger plan. But besides the film that does show that he allows quarterbacks, especially one with less experience like Purdy that we're seeing here, to get the ball out. And he does a good enough job, both in the pass sets and also in the run that I'm not showing you here, but he does have a lot of reps at outside zone. So right in the bread and butter of what Andy Reid, Andy Heck, Matt Nagy, and even Patrick Mahomes need to run. So he's a nice combination, and I think a player that could earn more as he goes forward. Now, I'm going to bring up what he actually does. And this is the key. You don't have to be in love with the signing. You don't have to think that he's the next end-all, be-all. I don't know if he's going to be a franchise left tackle. He could grow into be that. That's what the organization is betting on. But he clearly is better than what they've had. And here's what it comes down to. Joe Thuney had the best pass pressure rate of the guys that lined up at tackle this last season. And that's just the fact of it. Now, a lot of these snaps, Joe came in at 829, were in at guard. So obviously we know he didn't play the whole season at tackle, but that gives you that vantage point of what the bar is. Juwan Taylor played very similarly, 818, gave up 43 pressures on the season for a rate of 5.25, 26 here. That's perfectly fine. That's acceptable. That's solid, if not good, offensive tackle play. The total pressures there of 43 are a little bit high, but you also know that the Chiefs run a lot of plays. So when you break that down on a per play basis, 158 pure pass rush or pass block snaps for Jaylon. Jaylon gave up 10 pressures for a rate of 6.33. That's markedly better than Wanye Morris, Kingsley Suamataia, and DJ Humphries. And this even surprised me. Humphries is the worst of the three of them when you look at how many snaps versus how many pressures were given up. Now, this is not specific about whether it got to the sack status or not. This is pressures. But Kingsley, on less snaps, gave up more pressures. And so you can get by with the struggles. Now, obviously, Kingsley had some matchups too. And these are the two that we'll talk about going forward. If Kingsley Suamataia likely goes into guard, but it still could be in the running for the left tackle spot in the future. But that brings me back to, what do they have and what are they using and what are they going to do going forward? And that is pretty straightforward to me, is they're not done. Do I think that they sign another high dollar, and I'm calling $15 million a year high dollar left tackle prospects? I don't think so. But they don't necessarily call themselves done right now with the draft class. There's still going to be a left tackle oriented draft pick. I guarantee it. It has to happen because you don't have enough depth. Ethan Driscoll is out there. Obviously, Wanye Morris is still out there. I don't think one is an option. I think he'll be a reserve guard, is the way that his future is going as well. And Ethan, we just don't know. So I do think there's another draft pick at tackle, but it doesn't have to be number one now. You can take a different shot or a different guy. You don't have to move up to get that tackle. That's probably the biggest key. And that's really what I was looking for, what the Chiefs were looking for in this particular move. And we do want to remind you that we are brought to you by our friends, powered by Underdog Fantasy, where you can get $1,000 in bonus cash right now. I'm going to get into hockey because it's fantasy playoffs for hockey, and I'm right in the thick of it. We're going to go look down, and I know I did Avalanche last week. We're going to take a look at the Montreal matchups for tonight. And it starts off really hot with a guy that I do like and is helping me out on several of my fantasy teams. It is Kevin Lankinen, who I think has been a little bit up and down since the break, but I do think is worth putting up some points on here for. Fantasy points, I would probably not take the 9.55 or higher, but I think I would definitely like to take the bet at 2 over. So I'm going to lay that down and get that 1.08, get a little bit of a bump there, and look for some other matchups in here that I like. Another player that I like watching, and I do think has a good run going, is Cole Caulfield. Again, has scored some points for me in the past. So I'm adding him in here on putting up a goal. And you get a nice little bonus there with 1.32 as well. Now, you got to put players from both sides in here, and so I'm always looking for that. A guy that I always count on, DeBrusque, is somebody that I've drafted in every fantasy league that I can get to. And in daily, I like to use him as well. Not necessarily so much for the points, although he has been scoring at a pretty good clip. Very easy to just take the points here and put him at over 0.5. And that is a 7 right here. And so if I'm just going to throw Fitty in here, you can see what that comes out to. And that's going to be a nice payday. If you want to get into the action, make sure you sign up. Use our code RGR over at Underdog Fantasy. Now, the latest signing ended up being a guy that we told you about just last night on the Q&A here, and we do that every Monday for those of you who don't know, or if you're meeting us for the first time. And I've been in this industry, football related, for over 20 years, doing the media side for quite a while. And I come from a coaching background, strength and conditioning, that kind of thing, physiological development. And I'm always looking for athletes. Kristian Fulton was one of the best athletes in the draft class when he came out. And I had him pegged with a really high-end fit for the Kansas City Chiefs at the time. Now, it didn't work out, got drafted, spent 4 years in one place, ended up with the Chargers last season, was asked to play some off-man, some zone, some things that aren't necessarily his thing. He is a Spags kind of guy. He's not the most robust. I wouldn't call him like beefy or overly strong, but he plays a physical game. He's got decent length, if not uber length. He can turn and run. And I think playing in the Charger system is probably a bit of a mismatch, probably why they decided to let him go. But I do think that he has some upside for the Chiefs in Spag's system. Now, we will dig deeper into the film here in coming film rooms, but just suffice to say, he's got a nasty streak. He can attack the ball. In fact, he made a play against the Chiefs in particular. And I do think that he is going to be a good fit here. What does he do? He lets you either let Trent McDuffie just roam with the best corner and put him out on the outside, whether you want to call Trent the slot at that point or not. Or he lets you rotate in with Jaylon Watson, give you backup. He would be one of the top 3 right now. I do think there'll be a draft selection at the cornerback spot as well, but I think it'll be more of a day 3 type move. So he definitely figures in right now ahead of Joshua Williams, ahead of Najee Johnson, and somebody who's going to get on the field, who's going to bring that experience and is going to play Spag style of ball. I'm pretty excited about that. I would love to know what you guys think. So make sure you leave your comments down below and let me know. Are you happy with the Fulton signing? What do you think of the Moore thing? We're going to do more, but this is the breakdown. Tomorrow is the film room. Then it's all the advanced stats and all the theory that you need to know about how they're building this team again. That's with Gary. And then we'll have more for you. I hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.